You don't fall in love with them. You fall in love with the story, the one you've been carrying like a secret wound, the one written in silence by the moments you were never chosen, never held, never heard. It begins before you even knew what love was. It begins in the way your mother looked through you when she was lost in her own pain. It begins in the way your father disappeared, even if he was right there. It begins in the ache of wanting to be enough and the terror of never quite being. And so you learn quietly, unconsciously, that love is something you must earn, that affection comes with conditions, that attention must be chaste. You learn to fall for those who make you feel the same ache you knew in childhood. Not because you're broken, but because the pain is familiar. It feels like home. That's why you always love the wrong person. Because wrong feels like known. Because your nervous system isn't looking for pieces, looking for patterns. And your pattern is chaos dressed as chemistry. You call it passion. You call it fate. You call it soulmate. But it's the wound asking to be reopened so you can finally feel what you've been avoiding. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So here you are calling it love. But love doesn't make you smaller. Love doesn't make you beg. Love doesn't come only when you've sacrificed every part of yourself. The people you keep choosing, they are not here to complete you. They are here to expose you. They are mirrors, not medicine. They reflect your fear of being abandoned, not your worthiness of being held. They reflect your inability to receive, not your unlovability. They reflect the part of you still unsure that you're enough as you are. You don't love them, you love who you become in their absence. You love the fantasy of finally being enough for someone who withholds. Because maybe if they choose you, it means you are no longer the child left behind. But they will not choose you. Not in the way you ache for, not in the way you need. And maybe they were never meant to. Maybe they were just a fire meant to burn the lie that you have to earn love, that you have to chase it, bleed for it, shrink for it, that you have to become someone else to be worthy of it. You keep choosing people who make you prove your worth because you still don't believe in it. So it's not about them. It never was. It's about you and the story and the shadow underneath the story. Because your shadow is the part of you that doesn't feel safe with love, that stays. It's the part that calls consistency boring, that calls respect too nice, that flinches when someone sees you and doesn't run. But you cannot receive what you are not at home with. And if you're only at home in chaos, you will keep calling abandonment love. You will keep calling distance desire. You will keep calling pain intimacy. And you'll wonder why it never lasts, why they keep leaving, why it burns bright and dies fast, why it always feels like you're not enough. But love is not the problem. Your definition of it is love that is real does not ask you to audition. It does not play hide and seek with your nervous system. It does not feed you crumbs and call it connection. It does not flicker in and out like a ghost from your past wearing a new face. Real love arrives not perfectly, not always cleanly, but fully. It does not confuse you into silence. It does not reward your pain with moments of pleasure. It does not bait you into trauma and call it soul alignment. You are addicted to the feeling of almost being seen, almost being chosen, almost being safe. Because in the spaces of almost, you stay small. You don't have to risk being truly loved and risk truly losing it. So you choose people who are just unavailable enough to keep your story alive. Because if they do stay, if they do see you completely, without the mask, without the performance, you will have to look at yourself and ask, am I ready to be loved without suffering for it? And if the answer is nothing, you will sabotage it. You will ghost what grounds you. You will mock what nurtures you. You will run from the very thing you swore you were searching for. Not because you're broken, but because you're afraid of the silence that real love demands. The silence where no drama distracts you, where no chaos steals your attention, where no games exist to chase or be chased. Just two people, fully present, with nothing left to hide behind. That kind of love, it will terrify the parts of you still loyal to the lie. The lie that says, if they really see me, they'll leave. The lie that says, if it's calm, it's not real. The lie that says, I have to suffer to deserve something sacred. And until you confront that lie, you will keep choosing partners who trigger it. Because your soul doesn't want comfort, it wants completion. And completion only comes when the wound is finally faced. Not with another lover, but with yourself. So why do you always love the wrong person? Because the right one makes you feel naked, exposed, vulnerable, seen, and you've spent your whole life mastering the art of disappearing. But now it's time to return to the places you locked away, to the ache behind your eyes, to the child inside who learned to chase, perform, please, because they thought that was the price of love. Return to the mirror and don't look away. Not this time. Don't cover your pain with distractions. Don't bury your brilliance under people who can't carry it. Don't trade your soul's fire for someone else's flickering attention. Because every time you love the wrong person, you're not failing at love. You're repeating the lesson you refuse to learn. That the person you keep choosing is just the echo of the parts of you still reject. You cannot find right love in wrong self-concept. You cannot build intimacy on the ruins of self-abandonment. You cannot ask someone to see you if you're still hiding from yourself. And yet we keep searching. Through apps, through late-night texts, through half-alive hookups and relationships with no root. We keep hoping someone else will unlock the door we've locked from the inside. But they can't. They weren't meant to. Because that door is sacred. And it only opens with truth. Not performance. Not potential. Not pain wrapped in poetry. Only truth. The truth that says, I am worthy of love that stays. I am allowed to rest in arms that don't punish me for needing them. I am no longer available for chaos disguised as connection. And I will no longer beg to be chosen, because I have already chosen me, fully, finally, fiercely. Not the version of me they find convenient, but the version that's whole, that's messy, that's real. And from that place, from that raw, roaring return, you will no longer fall in love to escape. You will fall in love to expand. Because now, you're ready. You're ready to be seen. Not in fragments, but in fullness. And the wrong people, they will lose access not because you're bitter, but because you're reborn. You're no longer available for lessons you've already learned. No longer entertained by chaos that used to feel like home. No longer seduced by potential that never becomes presence. You've outgrown the fantasy. The one where pain means passion. The one where inconsistency means desire. The one where being wanted is enough. Because now, you want more than to be wanted. You want to be witnessed. You want the kind of love that doesn't flinch when you fall apart. The kind that doesn't disappear when the fire burns too hot. The kind that holds not to fix, not to change, but to honor. And you won't find that love by chasing. You won't find it in the people who breadcrumb you into confusion. You won't find it in the arms that only open when it's convenient. You'll find it in the stillness, in the space you once filled with noise and names and next times, in the decision to sit with your own ache until you can cradle it like an old friend. In the moment you stop asking, why don't they love me? And start declaring, I am done betraying myself. That's when the pattern breaks. Not through force, but through clarity. Because clarity isn't a light switch, it's a fire. It burns down every version of you that was built to survive. So the one who came to live can finally rise. And that rising, it changes everything. You begin to speak differently, move differently, choose differently. You stop asking people to validate what you already know. You stop leaking your energy into what cannot hold you. You stop trying to earn what only you can give yourself. And from that rooted place, from that throne, you finally return to, you attract not just lovers, you attract mirrors, you attract equals. You attract those who meet your presence with presence. Not because you begged, but because you became the sanctuary you were always searching for in someone else. You became the container your heart needed. You became the source, not the seeker. And in that becoming, the wrong person no longer fits. Their games fall flat. Their inconsistency no longer seduces you. Their emotional absence doesn't feel like a mystery anymore. It feels like a red flag. You see clearly now, not with bitterness, but with discernment. You know what it costs to abandon yourself. You know how it feels to beg for breadcrumbs of affection. You know the ache of being touched but never felt. And now, you will never let it happen again. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself more than the story that kept you small. The story that said you have to suffer to be seen. The story that said only the wounded are worthy. The story that said your needs are too much, your love too big, your depth too dangerous. Burn it. Let it all burn. Let every ghost of every almost fall into ash. You don't need them anymore. You don't need to be unfinished. You don't need to keep bleeding for a version of love that never knew how to hold you. Because now, you hold yourself. You speak for yourself. You love not from hunger, but from wholeness. And love from wholeness, that's a different kind of fire. It doesn't flare. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't feed on drama or distance or delay. It burns steady. It burns clean. It burns with presence. And when you find someone who can hold that flame with you, not control it, not shrink it, but match it, you will realize why it never worked with anyone else. Because they weren't wrong. They were just your reflection. But now you are whole, and your reflection will be too. And when that reflection arrives, when the presence of another no longer threatens your peace, but deepens it, everything changes. There is no rush, no ache, no panic to prove, perform, or possess. There is simply recognition, a calm in the body, a steadiness in the soul, a knowing that doesn't scream, but settles. You will look into their eyes and not feel the need to impress. You will share your truth without fear of being too much. You will be met finally not with confusion, but with capacity. Not with resistance, but with reverence. And that kind of laugh doesn't come wrapped in adrenaline or unpredictability. It comes wrapped in clarity, the kind that holds your hand when you're silent, the kind that stays when the shine wears off, the kind that grows, not because it's easy, but because both of you are ready. And readiness is not found in timing. It's found in alignment, in becoming the version of yourself that no longer abandons your heart to chase someone else's shadow, in becoming the version of yourself that no longer finds home in people who keep the door halfway open, in becoming the version of yourself who loves without losing, gives without grasping, chooses without chasing. You are that version now, not because someone chose you, but because you finally chose yourself. And when that choice becomes your rhythm, your standard, your state of being, you will never again love the wrong person, because you will no longer be the wrong person for yourself. You will no longer seek healing in someone else's hands. You will no longer confuse attention for devotion. You will no longer water gardens in soil that never intended to bloom with you. Because now you understand the love you kept trying to find in their eyes was the love you kept refusing to give your own reflection. The validation you chased in their silence was the voice inside you still whispering, "You are not enough." But that voice is fading now, not because you silenced it, but because you faced it. You held it. You wept with it. You walked it home. And now, standing in the aftermath of your own remembering, you know something the old you never could have imagined. You never actually loved the wrong person. You loved from the wrong place, from wounds, from fear, from unworthiness, dressed up in longing. And when you love from pain, you attract pain disguised as passion. But when you love from power, you attract presence. You attract partnership. You attract a kind of intimacy that doesn't trigger your survival response, but softens it. That doesn't excite your trauma, but heals it. That doesn't feed your fantasy, but frees you from it. This is the love that was waiting for you. Not outside, inside. And now that you've met yourself fully, fiercely, finally you'll never go back. Not to the almost, not to the apologies, not to the ache of pretending you don't need more. You do need more, and now you are more. So love again, not from the old story, but from the new standard. Love, not to be chosen, but to share the truth you become. And that truth is radiant. It doesn't beg. It doesn't barter. It doesn't shrink to fit the shape of someone else's fear. It stands. It breathes. It builds. And when love meets you here in this grounded golden place where your past no longer writes, your future, it won't feel like a firestorm. It will feel like coming home. Not to another person, to yourself. Because now you understand what love really is. It's not intensity. It's not urgency. It's not suffering wrapped in seduction. It's peace. Peace that makes you brave. Peace that makes you honest. Peace that makes you unshakable. This love doesn't silence your voice, it amplifies it. It doesn't fear your depth, it dives into it. It doesn't flinch when you tremble, rage, weep, or roar. It stays, not because it has to, but because it wants to. Because this time, it's not chasing your wounds. It's meeting your wholeness. And when that happens, when you love from truth, instead of trauma, there is nothing left to chase, only something to build. A connection rooted in mutual clarity, a passion grounded in mutual presence, a future formed from mutual freedom. You won't lose yourself in them. You'll find more of yourself with them. Because now you finally love from power, not from fear. And that's why you never again love the wrong person. Because now you become the right one for you. And in becoming the right one for yourself, you shift the entire frequency of your life. Everything recalibrates. The people you attract, the boundaries you set, the depths you demand, the energy you no longer waste trying to decode red flags painted as destiny. You're not desperate anymore. You're disciplined. You're not trying to be chosen. You're choosing with intention, with clarity, with soul. This is the new era of your life. One where you stop falling in love with potential and start rising in love with reality. One where presence becomes the proof of love, not empty words or borrowed fantasies. One where silence doesn't mean abandonment. It means safety. One where the wrong people no longer tempt you. They teach you, then leave, because you no longer need the lesson. You've graduated. You've ascended. You've walked through fire, grieved the fantasy, faced the shadow, and emerged, forged in something unshakable. self-respect. And self-respect doesn't chase. It chooses. It doesn't beg for breadcrumbs. It bakes its own bread. It doesn't confuse chaos for chemistry. It craves consistency. So now when you look into the mirror, you don't see someone waiting. You see someone ready. Ready to give love that's clean. Ready to receive love that's real. Ready to build something that doesn't just survive storms but stands through them. Because the version of you that always loved the wrong person, they needed to break. So this version of you, the whole you, could finally rise. And now that you have, you'll never again be content with anything less than everything real. And everything real begins with you, not with a soulmate, not with a savior, not with a twin flame sent to fix the parts of you that trembled in the dark. With you. And the choice to live without pretending, to love without performing, to receive without apologizing. This is the revolution, not of romance, but of remembrance, where you no longer need the high of dysfunction to feel alive, where you no longer tie your worth to the attention of those who cannot hold it, where you no longer bleed for people who treat your heart like a proving ground. You are no longer a battlefield. You are a temple. And temples don't chase worship. They hold reverence. Let the wrong ones fall away. Let the silence of their absence become the music of your return. You never needed to be fixed. You needed to be found. And now that you've found yourself, the world will have to meet you at a new altitude. No more shrinking. No more settling. No more rewriting your soul to fit inside someone else's limitations. You're done with that now. Because you've remembered, love is not something you earn by being less. It's something you invite by being all of you. And now that you are all of you, not perfect, not polished, but whole, you don't fear love. You embody it. And in that embodiment, you become untouchable. Not because no one can hurt you, but because no one can make you forget who you are. Again. So let them come. Let them love you. Let them see you. But know this. You are no longer waiting for someone to choose you. You've already been chosen by the one person who matters most. You. And from that choice, a new kind of love will be born. One that doesn't end in abandonment. One that doesn't begin in longing. One that begins and stays. Because now you love from truth. And the truth never lets go. Because when love is rooted in truth, it doesn't cling, it flows. It doesn't demand constant reassurance. It doesn't twist itself to fit into small hearts or temporary hands. It doesn't rush to possess, it rises to meet. You no longer need to strategize your softness. You no longer weaponize your silence. You no longer measure your worth in how long they stay. Because you've transcended the game. You're not playing to win anyone. You're walking as someone who cannot be lost. This is what happens when you stop chasing and start becoming. When you stop collapsing for closeness and start expanding in clarity. You don't need their confusion anymore. You don't need their maybe. You don't need their someday. You are no longer a question. You are the answer. And the right one, the real one, they won't hesitate. They won't see your power as a threat. They won't see your standards as too much. They'll see your truth and rise to meet it. Because now your presence doesn't beg. It commands, not with force, but with the quiet, immovable gravity of someone who is returned to themselves. So let the world move around you. Let love find you without fear. Because you are no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are looking for someone who can stand with you, shoulder to shoulder, soul to soul, where nothing is missing and nothing has to be earned, only shared, only honored, only amplified, That's the love you were born for. That's the love you become. When you finally stop loving from your wounds and start loving from your worth. So now it ends, not with a scream, not with another heartbreak, not with another apology for wanting too deeply, feeling too much, loving too hard. It ends with you choosing yourself, not from anger, not from pride, but from peace. The kind of peace that comes when you stop asking others to make you whole. The kind of peace that whispers, you were never broken. You were only waiting to come home. And now you are home, no longer loving to be saved, no longer bleeding to be seen, no longer sacrificing yourself for a version of love that never saw your soul. You see it now. You honor it now. And from this moment forward, you will never again love the wrong person, because you've become the person who will never again forget what real love feels like. It feels like truth. It feels like freedom. It feels like you